Hey guys, so I'm back, another month, another video. Today's background is a little bit different. I'm trying new things. I want to know how this background would look like with my whole setup, new setup of like lights from here, natural light from there, and white light from the top. So I want to know how it works. But today's video is back to scheduled programming, which is Dinata's book club. This is the video where I'm gonna be talking about a certain book that I have read the past month. Honestly, this month I've read around 3 books so far, but I'm gonna pick one that I will be talking about in a lengthier detail. I'll try my best to not be as spoiler-y as my previous book, but I just want to talk about the book and why I think you should or should not read this particular book. So the book that I'm going to be talking today is called The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. This is the book. Now I'm going to be reading the summary from Wikipedia. The Tattooist of Auschwitz is a 2018 Holocaust novel by New Zealand novelist Heather Morris. The book tells the story of how Slovakian Jew Lale Sokolov, who was imprisoned at Auschwitz in 1942, fell in love with a girl he was tattooing at the concentration camp. The story is based on the real life of Sokolov and his wife Gita Furman. So basically the story talks about this guy named Lale. He's a Slovak guy. In 1942 he got captured, and so he started making friends with other prisoners who worked there. And so one day he got chosen by another prisoner to be their second-hand helper, and he started working as a tattoo artist, or what the people call tattooer. Now for Lale to get this job, he had to face a lot of struggles. One day when he was doing his job as a tattooer, he was assigned to tattoo women, and usually he never tattoo women's number. He always tattoo men. And this one particular time, a group of women started coming to that camp, and therefore Lale has to tattoo their arms with the appointed number. And then he met Gita. When he met Gita, he just completely fell in love with her, even though he doesn't know anything or even her name at that moment. He only knows the number 34902, which is apparently Gita's number. So he only knows that the girl that I fall in love with is the girl of the number 34902. The story also talks about more depressing thing, like how he met Joseph Mengele, which is also known as the Angel of Death. And people who are interested can Google Joseph Mengele, and you'll see why he is such a scary doctor that is available in Auschwitz, because he picked women to be tested, and so it is just a scary scene. The book also talks about the gas chamber that was being made and was used, and it gives a very scary picture for me to imagine when reading. So this book kind of makes me learn a little bit more about Auschwitz and what had happened back then, and it is very, very sad and scary. After all that struggle and sadness, one time near the end of the World War II, Lale described that Lale and Gita got separated because the women are being brought away from the camp first to be moved to another camp, and therefore they got separated. But lucky for them, both of them escaped from the camp. They didn't know whether the other had succeeded in escaping or not, but they did escape. Gita got reunited with his brother for a short period of time. Lale also went back to his home, expecting to meet the rest of his family, but turns out the only person left is his sister, who was at that moment married to a Russian soldier or a Russian man, and therefore his sister is technically safe because she adopts her husband's last name, and therefore she doesn't sound Jewish or Slovak anymore. She is now a Russian. Lale told her sister and a neighbor of his who also survived the story of how he met Gita and how he thinks that Gita is the love of his life, and therefore his sister and his neighbor push him to look for Gita. Long story short, Gita was found and they got engaged and got married after a period of time. I don't remember really specifically. I'm gonna read something that I wrote. End of the book described more of Lale's and Gita's life. Lale was sent to a prison for a while because of something, but then made an escape with Gita and traveled and moved to Australia. There is where they spend the rest of their lives together until their death. And the author is, well, New Zealand, and she and Lale spoke to write this book after Gita's death. I think that the book's strong points would be that letting the reader read glimpse of how and what the concentration camp feels like. It gives you a quite a vivid imagination for me personally, of feeling being there even though I'm not there, and seeing what they see, and it gives me chills. It also tells a beautiful and full of struggle love story. It gives hope to people that love can be found in the most unexpected and unfortunate place. This book is also described as a dark fairy tale because although the story is based on a true story, the author did exaggerate 5% of the story to be more dramatic, which some readers dislike. It really gives like a controversy amongst readers because even though it is plastered based on an unexpected true story or something, or twisted true story, it is not completely true. There are some details that the author changed. For example, when Gita or Lale is standing here when they're supposed to be in real life standing somewhere safer, but the author made it look like Gita or Lale or both are standing to a more scary situation. Even though that scary situation actually happened, they are not in immediate danger to it, but the author changed it like that, as if they are the person who are in danger. So that's what the people don't really like about it. There's this excerpt that I got from an article that I read. The book does not claim to be an academic historical piece of nonfiction. I'll leave that to the academics and historians, she, as in Heather Morris, wrote in an email. It is Lala's story. I make mention of history and memory waltzing together and straining to part. It must be accepted after 60 years this can happen, but I am confident of Lala's telling of his story. Only he could tell it, and others may have a different understanding of that time, but that is their understanding. I have written Lala's. So Heather Morris, even though she knows she's gotten a lot of backlash, and she knows that she wrote a historical piece, but at the same time she incorporates fiction into it. Most of the story is about Lala's story, and it is from Lala's words, and basically, even though it is not technically 100% true with the years and so on and so forth, Heather Morris defended Lala's story, or defended her story, or defended the book, because she said that that is Lala's story. Another thing that I read is that she actually published this book after Lale died. So even though she had conversations with Lale and interviewed him for his story and so on and so forth, she actually published the book after he died. And people or readers around the world kind of think that it is kind of shady that she changed the story and then dared to publish it after he died, so he wouldn't be able to fix or tell her off or something like that. And well, that's just people's opinion, I guess, about the story. I think that the language style is easy to understand, although I did need some research on some words that to describe like German ranks or phrases. The pace of the book is pretty quick as the story jumps really fast. Like, even though I bet there are a lot of bad things that is happening in the concentration camp, that book in particular talks about Lale's story, and there are just days where even though bad things are happening, but to Lale it's just a normal day of tattooing people, so it's not really written in an everyday chronology, so it's kind of a jumping timeline, and I'm fine with that. Another point that I like to highlight from the novel is how Lale treats people with kindness, and therefore people treat him back with it as well. It also tells a story about friendship and loyalty. From the book, it tells a lot of story about how Lale treats other people. That kind of made Lale collect sympathy points or like sympathy favors, and therefore when he eventually got in trouble, people are very willing to help him. Well, I personally think that this book is not suitable for people who want to know more or learn or study, like really study about what is Holocaust and what it is about. But if you are interested in the short summary, short plot that I just mentioned, I think that this good is about 8 out of 10. The fact that it is promoted that it is a true story or based on a true story, but it isn't. That is why maybe people feel like they were cheated on, because they put such a lot of emotions and feelings when reading it, but when they found out that it's not entirely true, they kind of dislike it. I'll put some links down below for further readings about other people's opinions or articles. And I also found a list of Auschwitz Documentary that is more accurate than the book if you are interested, and you can click the link down below to check it out. I feel like this video is a little bit short than usual because I don't really want to talk about the plot of the book, and at the same time I don't think that this book gets me as excited as I thought. I do say it's 8 out of 10 because it is a good book, but when people ask me for recommendation, I wouldn't recommend this book like in the first place. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, great month, great week, and I'll see you in the next video.
I get along without you very well.